I think one of the most awesome parts of being a writer is being able to take those moments where you look at your hometown and go, well, you know what? What this place really needs is a nuke up its ass. And then nowadays they have all the tools for you to sit there and go, wow, I can simulate this. Well, that's pretty cool. Now I can write about it. Plans. Howdy, Brett.
Wow, it's like nobody here. It's just Brett. Oh, no, there's a second person.
Well, you
Somebody
give them
else is coming
time.
here.
We just started. We've been on air for like 15 seconds. This is why we usually continue these boring stories.
This is true.
Yeah, that map is pretty good. Let me go ahead and share that, with folks here.
That we were just talking about nuclear explosions and detonations, and there's tools to simulate how bad things get.
There you go. How's that?
That looks pretty bad. What's going that direction? That's pretty bad. The Welsh contingent is here. Hey, Matt. We'll have to throw that in the Discord live. That link. Yay for Wales. I have no response to any of what chat is doing. I just know that they're in trouble. Well, we're glad to see y'all. So the cool thing about talking about this and these days with Google Maps and everything else is I've been able to map out. I was telling this earlier, but I found a depth finder, essentially a depth map, fisherman's depth map for all of Clear Lake, which is a body of water that features in this book. So I can map out exactly where things happen, exactly how many meters of water you're in. So I can make things as much as explicitly accurate as I can without going overboard. But there are reasons why I need to know where that is because it changes behavior and strategy and all those kinds of things. But it's been glorious. It's a wonderful age we live in as far as the research goes, if you want to call it that. Can you call it research if you're just looking at links and running somebody else's shit?
Yeah.
No, I was able to call it research when we went to Atlanta for a family vacation, and I made sure that we took a walk and took pictures and ate at certain places that were mentioned in Secret World Chronicles so that I knew exactly what would happen if I destroyed something. So yeah, and then I got yelled at by readers for saying, you can't do that. I walk there every day. Now I'm visualizing this and I'm like, thanks for the compliment.
Brent brought up a point the other day that one of the restaurants I mentioned or one of the bars I mentioned in Garrison Inferno is no longer there. And it was kind of an important part. I did nothing, but places I mentioned disappear. So I'm going to have to mention the George R. Brown in another book because I keep hoping that thing will disappear. But that's just me. With that, it's time to say howdy, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Deadbot Society. I'm Paul E. Cooley. Joining me, as always, almost always, Veronica Jaguar and Terry Mixon. How the hell are you people?
Tired.
Here.
You look tired. You both look tired.
Why
are you tired?
Busy. Yesterday was exceptionally busy doing things that I shouldn't have had to do.
All right. Since you're in a bitch mode, go ahead.
Yeah,
we'll let V finish after you're done.
Oh no! I want to hear all this.
I want to hear this.
Well, when I was at 20 Books, another author that I was talking to, and I made an agreement to go ahead and for me to purchase a firearm from him and have it shipped down here, which is cool. Now I like that happening. That's something I can go in my range bag and I'll be happy with that. I've got plans for that. Unfortunately, the firearms dealer that he dealt with sent it by the Postal Service.
Oh.
Which, for pistols, is not authorized. Not supposed to happen.
Uh-oh. Did this result in it getting bounced?
It did not get bounced, but when we contacted the place that it was being shipped to here, they said, well, unfortunately for you, the Postal Service doesn't deliver to us. We've had problems for an entire year of them delivering anything to us, even our mail. They just don't seem to think our address exists at all. And I was like, really? So we watched the
Where's my
tracking
weapon?
number. We watched the tracking number. We watched it arrive and go out for delivery. And a couple of hours later, it was marked as not a valid address, return to sender. And so I went to the post office and had a fairly long discussion with a supervisor saying, I know that the store is there. It's a real address. I paid $55 to have something shipped there. I'd like to request that your driver go back by and actually drop off the mail. And it did in fact work, and they did in fact go back and drop off the mail. But what a huge pain in the ass that was.
That's annoying as shit.
Did they have a bunch of, not delivered mail, just bring it in a couple crates? If they
No,
had
they just, if they
difficulty
get mail,
delivering?
they just send it back to wherever it came from. Pretend it never happened.
Wow.
It's
they don't learn
terrible.
how to do
My
everything
wife
online.
advised them to contact the Postmaster General because apparently it's right on the borderline between League City and Dickinson, and the two postal services are saying not our basket.
Gotcha.
This address is not in our side. My wife went to make a complaint, and the Dickinson address is the only one the federal system recognized as valid. So I suspect they're using the wrong address. But the Postal Service could have fixed this problem by telling them what they needed to do, rather than dragging it out for a year. So I got my firearm, but oh my gosh, it took a lot of talking. And of course, while we were there, my wife said, maybe we should get a year's membership
A year's membership
Okay.
of what?
to the Texas Gun Club.
Oh, okay. All right. I got you.
If we pay the membership for a year, we don't have to pay range fees. We get discounts on a bunch of other stuff. Get access to their lounge area that's members only. That kind of nonsense.
So, Merry Christmas.
So, Merry Christmas. My wife wants to go up and do some recreational shooting anyway. I've been wanting to get back into reloading. So, it's a kick in the pants to go ahead and do that.
Now, wait a minute. How are you going to start hiring the cats out, for reloading duties? Because pretty soon you've got more cats than you have reloading areas.
This is true. I have one reloading area and plenty of cats. One of the cats lives in the reloading area. So that's going to be fun.
Oh my God.
The last couple of days have just been various things going on that I had to spend time dealing with. Finally, it's all cleared out. My schedule is clear and I can do stuff again. Ammo cats.
I just love this idea. I'm sorry, V. I just love this idea of the cats sitting there doing the reloading and grumbling, and him. He's got like and for every round they load, a little bit of food gets lowered. So it's kind of like the reverse of the pit and the pendulum, so to speak. You want it to lower, but then like gerbils, you got to make the rounds. Got to make the rounds. Got to make the rounds. I think it would just be awesome. Got that in my head.
I'm just thinking ammo cats sounds like the name of some feline merc unit or
Yeah, ammo cats.
Now-
Supply unit.
What I'm going to do with this new pistol, the new pistol is the same exact model. Well, it's an older version of the same model that I use as a carry pistol now. And I'm going to go ahead and send the slide off and have it machined and put a reflex sight on it. Little red dot sight.
Gotcha.
Because I've been wanting one. And it's a good way to go ahead and see if I'm going to like that on my carry piece or not. And it'll still be a gun to go in the range bag.
See, he's got all his shit figured out. What about you, V? Do you have your shit figured out?
Are you kidding me? No.
Is this a joke?
No. I mean, teenagers, what shit do you think I ever have figured out?
Well, how was your Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was manageable. Thanksgiving is my least favorite holiday. There's a lot growing up. There was a lot of baggage around it, and that is a story for another time. But it's my least favorite holiday, and I usually cope by cooking. but my mother-in-law and I trade off. And it's whoever claims it first. If I had it my way, I'd claim both Thanksgiving and Christmas and cut the house down and just be happy.
Yeah.
I did not get that choice. So she claimed Thanksgiving, which means I get Christmas, but I wound up baking. And going over, seeing family, and met my son's girlfriend. She is lovely. And they're adorable together. Nobody fought too much. Let's try that. And there was leftover pie. So, I'll call it a win. And in between all that, I managed to finish the first week of my my 10-page promise. So the thing that happened was okay, so my daughter qualified for nationals again this year for bowling. We went last year to Indianapolis. It's a 2-week trip. It costs money. And I'm like, okay, so what I often need some initiative or, reason to do things, long-term goals. So I was like, okay, well, I can get this story written and put it on the market and see if I can, help defray the cost of the travel, because it's in Detroit this year. Oddly enough, I can justify part of the trip to Detroit for research, because a project that I'm working on with my writing mentor, the group their headquarters are in Detroit. So I can justify that if I need to. Anyway, but I was like, okay, so how do I get this project started? And I told my daughter, I was like, what if I do this? What if I have to owe you 10 pages by the end of the week? Because right now I'm going to be recording. I've got projects to record. I can't really set a day aside to write. So every Saturday I have to be ready to hand over 10 handwritten pages of this second chance romance thing. And I have reread it. I finished it yesterday. It's probably about 2,500, maybe 3,000 words. It is a first chapter. Maybe 2 chapters once I flesh it out and do more. But it's the first thing I can hand to her. Does she want to read it? No, she's like, no, I don't want to see it right now. Well, thanks. Thanks so much, kid. But at least it's done. And I've got the first bit written. So I can keep going, and I'm doing my best to not get stuck in I have to outline this. No, you have a general idea, just go. The ideas are going to change, just go. So hopefully I will have...
How's that working with your OCD?
So I do have... I did, write out... Is it there? No, wrong notebook. There's another notebook here somewhere. That actually has each of the beats for the romance with general ideas for scenes, but I'm not really going into it, and I'm not touching Scrivener. I'm going to handwrite as much as I can, because if I have a pen and a piece of paper, I have no excuse.
That is true. You have no excuse to write it and not go back and change it. You can't go back and change it. It's there.
Right. And if I do go back and change it, I'm just I'm drawing a line and then, writing through. So that, and I'm 2 hours away from finishing another audiobook, because that's due on Monday. So yay, more magic cats.
More magic cats.
Yeah, it kills a unicorn. It's pretty cool. Unicorns are...
Wow.
Yeah.
Unicorn steaks, good.
I just remember narrating something about how a unicorn hit a tree, and it hit the tree so hard that its spine kind of wrapped around such that its tail and its head touched. It was dead.
I think so.
Uh-huh.
On that cheering note.
So, Mr. Horror Writer, how about you?
Been still working on Extinction, getting that puppy done, and I I figured out I created a problem today, and then I asked Terry a question, and that led into other madness, and
then we destroyed Houston.
And then we destroyed Houston in various ways before the show started.
As one does.
As one does. So for the first time, I'm actually looking at some pretty severe weapons of mass distraction and destruction. So yeah, it's fun. But I'm getting there. I gave myself till the end of the month to get Extinction's first draft done, and I think I'll make it. Pretty sure I'll make it. I have 4 scenes, I think, left to write of the major stuff, and then the epilogue is going to suck. But I think
Why
I can
is the
get
epilogue going to suck?
because I have no idea the kind of shit I want to include in it. So I may be writing into the complete darkness on that one because it's going to depend on how the book ends, and how the book ends I don't know who's going to survive yet.
So you're saying it could just be glub, 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 ... and that's it?
No, I'm saying that's why I'm not going to make it to happen that way. We don't want to say there's a brilliant flash and that's the end of the book. We don't want that. That'd be bad. That would be the ultimate reader throw the book across the room and dox me and swat me. God only knows what else. We don't need that shit. He says, we all know Paul is like, you get a body bag. You get a body bag. Everybody gets a body bag. Yeah, but everybody gets a body bag, but they don't necessarily get stuff inside it. It's just kind of a memento mori to remind them each that time might come.
So it's like one of those mystery boxes during the Black Friday sale for $10. You don't know what's in it, but you're going to grab it and see what's inside later?
Well, let's put it this way. If it's unrolled, I think there's something inside it. That's probably a pretty good bet. Probably a pretty good bet. He's my body bag's designer.
Brett's rocking that Kate Spade body bag right there.
Calvin Klein, Christian Dior, Gucci. What are we talking here? How much does a Gucci body bag cost? Yeah, today's topics: firearms, dead unicorns, and military advice. Yeah, that's how my day is going, or our days are going. Which reminds me, I had a schedule this year, and it got completely effed. I mean, in so many ways, it just can't even be counted. So, I've given up on making schedules. I will no longer do it. I now have plans, goals.
Okay.
Like a goal, general enough, is we will get a goddamn book out first fucking quarter 2024, even if it takes me getting somebody in a dentist chair. Okay, that's happening. The same thing with Q2, the same thing with Q3, the same thing with Q4. I now have all these titles lined up. I could publish 5 next year, but that's not my goal. My goal is to go back to my original goal, which was to get 4 next fucking year. And failing that, we'll get the Black because the series completely out next year. Period. End of story. Finito. Maybe not Nadio, because who knows? But it will be done. It will be out, and that will be that. So, since I have come down so hard on my idea that schedules are for suckers who actually don't, incur the wrath of karma and chaos and have eldritch gods peeking over their shoulder going, ooh, let's fuck with this. Let's push this button of my life. What about you? And why are you thinking about this now that we're still in November? Are you usually supposed to be thinking about this beginning of the year or December 20th or something like that?
So I've spent the past couple years going, like I start by looking at the past year, and I wind up, yes, Brett, Terry kisses the cats while Paul is talking, and it really does. You don't get the full experience if you're not watching the video, and we apologize because Sassy's just too freaking cute. She loves her daddy so much. Yes, she does. She's a cute baby.
Yeah.
She's just a buzzing up a storm.
Do you look at how the previous year went?
Anything through that floof? Damn. So Anyway, what I've done in the past is I've used I've used kind of a goal, like, what's the word? I want to say
don't know.
damage report, but that's not quite it. Like a debrief, kind of going through and looking at the
It's an
past year. And I do
after-action
this.
report.
Thank you. So after action report, I go back and I do it partly so I can be prepared when it's time to do taxes and to make sure my numbers match up with everybody else's. So it's a financial assessment, but it's also, what leads into that. So how many books did I finish? Did I get anything written this year? Did I, what's the process there? And then what else happened? Because a lot of times, I think one thing I've learned is you can't plan in a bubble. Some people can use schedules because their life is that predictable and they've got those boundaries. And others of us, we have to be flexible because of the roles that we have, especially if you're in that sandwich generation where you are responsible for older relatives, and or responsible for younger people. And
Why not both?
why not both? In there doing that. So you have to kind of assess, well, yeah, so I should have gotten this much done, but on the flip side, what else happened? So did someone get sick? Did I get sick? Did, I have to look at, I can say, oh my gosh, nothing happened in the third quarter, but I can also go, excuse me, you had shoulder surgery. And you try to be the responsible person by not scheduling work so that you could take time to heal. Oh, I was kind to myself. Nobody gets points necessarily for being kind to themselves, unfortunately.
This is true.
Nobody gets points for anything, which is
No.
weird. Why am I gamifying this? But to look at everything all together and not only financials, not only word count, not only completed projects, because when you are working for yourself, as most writers and creatives do, it's very, very hard to separate what happens at home from what happens with your work. And so when you're looking at plans, it's like, okay, so if I'm planning for the next year, what are the things that always happen? What are the cycles that always happen? So
I could not foresee the 3 months that I lost because of the car wreck, COVID, mom, job. Actually, I guess 4 or 5 months, and then the crash of all that shit. Could not have forecast any of that. This has been an amazingly shitty year, but I learned a couple lessons because of it. So,
which is certainly valuable because those you have experience and potential contingency plans if shit hits the fan again. Hi, Millie. Ooh, hello, JR. Wow.
I know. I was just thinking about him the other day because I was voicing Neptune's cars, and his namesake, his doppelganger, is in that book, the useless private. His useless privates. I mean, he has kids, right? Anyway, so I was just thinking about GJR. Good to see you. Good to see you. What I learned was that I need to lock down cover dates. I need to lock down and say, this is when I need this. I don't give a shit. This is the date. Can you do that or not? And that needs to be the way it is. And that goes on the calendar, and that means it's got to be done. And I'm going to have to be better about doing that and bird dogging that and everything else. And I'm going to never make the mistake of thinking I actually know what's going to happen with the publisher.
So, how do you bird dog something like that when it's an artist's schedule that's up in the air and more chaotic? How do you do that?
It's just going to mean I'm going to have to be a little bit more bothersome at times, which I have not been. So the communication problems are probably on my end, but I'm going to fix that. So it's just a matter of I need to line this stuff up, and if somebody can't do, doesn't have time for the work, I understand that, whatever it is, or if it's not a cover that's in their wheelhouse, or if it's better served something else, that's all just business. It can't be anything personal. It's just business. But I need to, make sure that I get some dates that I can live with. And, I'm sure the people that I work with, if I get a date and we agree on a date, they'll make it. It's not a problem. We just didn't do that. So there we go. So that's why I have so many books with no covers and no layouts are languishing right now. But we're over that. It's not going to happen next year. We're going to go blindly forward and make things happen. Hey, Terry.
Okay.
Terry doesn't have a schedule that he makes. His schedule
Somebody
is
else makes my
dictated to
schedule.
him.
It's true.
He works
And
for
I
the
get-
man.
I work for the man, and sometimes my schedule is chaotic. Like today, I looked at the due dates for the remainder of this series, and we'd already talked about what dates they were going to be due. And I think, well, I'm not sure who got into the dates, but they're obviously wrong. So I'm going to have a conversation with them because instead of being 70 days between each release, it's like 56, 91, 45. I'm like, that's not even close. That's not even close.
That's wow. That's some chaotic
No.
numbering.
That's so,
No.
Did ChatGPT come up with those numbers?
I mean, keep calling those out. Someone's going to yell bingo at some point.
That's exactly
like,
what I
look,
was
they're not even close to one another. What's going on here? So I'll send him an email, and then he'll go dig into it and figure out what's wrong and change the dates.
That's like somebody put the wrong numbers in the spreadsheet.
I
Somebody
would say,
walked across the keyboard.
yeah, something happened. Something happened. It'll get fixed. I have no doubt.
So what we're saying is, while we have to worry about this, all you have to worry about is hitting your deadlines. Which,
Yes.
I'm not discounting that as a big thing. The fact you keep hitting those deadlines and so many of them is pretty goddamn impressive.
6 books a year is busy, and I'm
Aggressive.
actually going to have knocked off 7 since I did the Empire book as well. So yeah, it's been busy.
I always wonder if it's easier if you've got someone else setting the deadlines. Which
It
I
is
think part
for
of
me.
part of my struggle is I can get books done. I can hit a deadline for recording, but my own writing, it's often like that can slide. I'm not really beholden to anyone else, which is why sometimes one of the strategies is set up arbitrary deadlines. That's why I've got like every Saturday 10 pages a deadline. I know I'm going to have to get this sucker done and out and delivered well before July of next year.
Right.
Because that's when my ass should be going to Detroit.
If
So
the young one is not a good deadline setter for you, maybe you need to talk to the MG. So he can go every Sunday, where's my papers?
oh well
I think
and
the daughter
here's-
is going to be much better at that than the MG.
Yeah, you've not. They're disgustingly similar. If for those who have children, a common maternal curse is, "I hope you have one who's just like you." And yes, it held. It totally held. I have a small, shady little intellectual snob who devours books and will tell me exactly what is wrong. I got one just like me. But she has the confidence that I did not have as a teenager, so she can sass me back as much as she wants within reason. I am not going to squish that confidence. But arbitrary deadlines. It's enough knowing that I've got to do it, and plus just telling people that you're going to do something is another level of accountability. And then it's how do I
Yeah,
make the
it
time
is.
to do that? So, I don't know. I use planners because not necessarily because I always stick to them, but I'm very much like, you see the calendar behind me.
Mhm.
That forces me. It's top of mind. So as long as the schedule and what I have to do is within my, range of vision, it will get done. And that usually helps to have some kind of list.
When I could actually share what I'm writing as I write it, my Patreon was good for me having accountability of doing chapters.
I thought about that, about setting one up, and I'm like, it's the first project, and it's not necessarily off brand, but it's not necessarily it's not the sort of thing that a core audience that's read what I've written before or heard me narrate what I do would be interested.
That may very well be the case, but it's still a great way for doing accountability, because once you've got somebody paying you money to see those chapters on a regular schedule, suddenly there's a pressure to make that happen.
True.
There is.
True.
There is. Patreon is, like, I basically told them, for famous, you're going to get hell. And that means I have to go finish that completely, and I have to record it before December 22nd. Because that's when Fiendmas begins. So I got to get that done so they can have their 7 days of Fiendmas or whatever the hell it is that I ended up coming up with. So that's another reason to get Extinction done. And then also the same kind of thing as Track 9.
Mm.
Yeah. We use the same approach in work. If you tell a client about it, it has to happen, but that means that we never discuss future features. Yay, Matt. Yeah, the moment you mention a future feature, holy shit. Brett says work deadlines, though, I mean, unless you're creative at work, they are easier to hit. At least I find that. Plus, salary justification is a great way to create accountability.
Yeah. Having that financial piece there, or being able to manifest that, is helpful. Like, there's one, actually, that's a terrible idea. Never mind. I'm not going to bring that. Trust me. But
No,
putting a money amount on it can help. So I mean, I initially thought, well, if I do 10 pages, I could do it like $5 a page and then have $50 at the end of the week. And I'm like, no, I can't really do that. I need to save money anyway. So let me not do that. I'll just try 10 pages a week and keep it going.
Slave wages. $5 an hour.
You know, it's not like Dickens. I'm not getting paid per word.
Please, may I have another word?
God, Stephen King would be making so much, even more money than he is now. It'd be ridiculous. He's got really wordy in his old age.
I think I've said this before. I think once you get really, really established as a Trad Pub author, you're less likely to have an editor, or you're less likely to have editors who are really going to winnow down what you have.
Just look at Stephen King.
There you go.
Yeah, and he's not the worst example. He's just the most convenient one. But yeah, it's a
Who is the worst example?
Oh my God, I can go back to literary times and say William Faulkner.
My mother
He's
is
got
a fish.
one fucking part of a book that's like a goddamn novella that's something like one sentence that's an ungodly number of pages long. Yeah.
Your mic keeps cutting out, Paul. Do you hear that, V?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not just me, it's you.
Well, I don't know what you want me to do about it.
Just let you know. If you don't know there's a problem, you don't know there's a problem.
Yeah. That was Faulkner's signature move. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Make him so special to everybody. I would the run on yes. Who else writes a wordy? Who else is wordy, or not just wordy, but needs to thin down their plots a bit?
David Weber.
Yeah,
And
another part of editing.
I think, yeah, and I think definitely Tom Clancy at his stuff before he passed, not the stuff that he collabed on, but the later stuff. The man was wordy to start with. And
Don't get me wrong. David Weber is a friend, and I like his work, but he could definitely use with some trimming down of the narrative, of the meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting.
God, that's such a problem, though, man. It's such a problem. And I really, we've talked about this. The only really way to do that is to say they had a meeting and then like condense it down into 3 freaking paragraphs.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm just saying that I'm pretty confident that there are some superfluous words in there.
And superfluous cats.
Your Pounce agrees.
Whose wording needs to cut down. Now I've seen ISO 9001 documentation. Yeah.
Yes, but that is a hallmark of ISO 9001 documentation.
Brett says, I think most writers are worded to start with. Most. Yeah, well, it's not just the words, though. It's also about plot elements that just go nowhere, that never get removed, subplots that should not be there, that lend nothing to the story and aren't even interesting. It's stuff like that. It's also those pieces.
I wonder, looking at David Weber, one of the things that he does is he's got a very expansive universe. Lots of things are going on. He's always jumping from place to place to place to place to place to place, character to character to character. And it's gotten so large that in his Honor Harrington universe, he actually has 3 distinct main plot lines that are running through the story. That you've got Honor Harrington and you've got 2 others with other main characters, and he'll like offset the books. Like, this book will cover from here to here time-wise. The next book will be here to here, but from somebody else's perspective, so some of the events may actually cross-pollinate. Yeah. And you're like, it feels like I've repeated this. I know these things. Even though I know what he's doing, it just seems overly complicated.
But no, that's, you say that, but that's a common thread in shared universe romance stuff that I've read. Where the story, where like, I'm really trying to not outline what I have, because I know that the events that hit halfway through the first book wind up being like the quarter point for the second book. And while some stuff might get repeated, it's not the huge thing. I know it's not it, but it's still that repeated bit, but it's the perspective.
Usually the events are not the same. You'll just hear mention of something that took place.
Okay.
So it's not like they're not even in the same area of space. So the events aren't actually usually cross-going. Do you like reading things like Empire of Bones? I don't know what your personal reading taste is like, so that's why I'm asking.
I've read everything. The problem that I have is that it's very hard for me to read in the same genre that I'm either writing in or narrating in, because there'll be like some cross-pollination. So, I mean, looking at the stuff that I go back to, that I used to go back and reread all the time. I guess actually I haven't read it in a while and I should. One of my like going back comfort reads was David Eddings, the Belgariad. Yeah. And going back and reading that, because it was a nice, easygoing epic with really good dialogue.
It is. This is true. What I was going to suggest is sampling his Honor Harrington books, David Weber's. It starts off with On Basilisk Station, and it's a regular paper-sized book. But by the time you get halfway through it, they're monster Lord of the Rings hardbacks, is what the size of the book has turned into. And the story is gripping. It's got a very strong female lead, and the story is great. It's just, I don't know how many millions of words have been spent on it, but I'd wager a few million probably could have been trimmed.
And that's sometimes when I'm reading stuff, it's really hard. It's hard to turn off like your inner editor to go, really, you're using this many words? Why did you not just, But then I've been accused of not describing enough when I write. So.
Yeah, and I don't want this to be seen as a shot at him. It's not. It's just he's an example of somebody that writes a lot of words.
Yeah, and everyone has their personal preference how they want to take in a story. Do you want all of the details filled in so your brain doesn't have to work it as hard?
Do you
and you can just follow along?
Do you like a
Or-
mixture of science fiction and fantasy?
I don't have a problem with that, with like a technology fantastical blur, as long as it can make sense, as long as there's a good reason for it. Like once I finally like reconciled in my brain that Star Wars is not science fiction. Star Wars is fantasy where there is a high tech component. I'm good.
Let me post a book into the live channel here. And I'll even post the audiobook version of it there because audiobooks, that's the way it is. Stop, go down.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what did I just finish listening to? Oh, The Crypt. Nah.
All right,
Because I can listen to Ray Porter all damn day.
I've posted a book there for you, also by David Weber.
Oh
That
yeah, you mentioned
is-
Safehold.
It's a combination of fantasy and science fiction. It's science fiction in that the main character is a science fiction character, but the world that they're operating in is basically a fantasy world. And
Okay.
it's extremely well done as far as that. And that's got a lot of social commentary going on there. I think that's something you might approve of as far as listening.
Matt says when you stop being wordy, boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy follows girl across country, boy gets shot because he has no fucking clue how the city works. Too short?
Perfect.
Okay, Baldric. Once when there was a tiny little sausage named Baldric. The end. I like books. Matt will get the reference. Anyway, it's curious. We moved from plans into editing, but editing is one of those things that has to get scheduled too. Either by you or to a pro to do what they do, or your beta readers or whatever. And it's all
And
of
sometimes
those things that all wrapped in.
and knowing that you've got to get whatever raw stuff to that next stage, that can be a good way to set a deadline, because that in those cases it's someone they're not generating their own work, whereas we are generating our own work. They're getting it in. It's like, okay, I expect to have this script on this date so that I can start the editing process, and we set up that I can expect to have this amount of work in so they can
Right.
get moving. So making that appointment, or that appointment to have an editor go over it. Well, no, like I've learned I need to do it for audiobooks because I outsource all my editing. So
Right.
I need to be able to tell
Right.
the editor, you're going to
Sure.
have, so many finished hours by this date so that I can deliver to the author or the publisher. But it's not that way. It's not an arbitrary deadline. You're still owing it to someone, but it's not the finished product. You've got deadlines for those steps. Same thing with the cover art. There are a lot of authors who will commission cover art as another like stepping stone. So by the time I have the cover art for the book, I should have 60% of it written so that I can start teasing out the cover and pieces and all that to fans.
God, I'd love to have the cover 2 months in advance, because then I can plan all the marketing. That'd be really nice. I just need to adjust things properly to make that happen. But
You're not the only
all
one who
this stuff's
struggles
on
with
me.
communication, because dear God, I suck at it.
Yeah, it's rough. And of course, if you don't hear from somebody like
There's a fine line between I'm bugging you or I should probably touch base. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just for people who have difficulty asking people for things, it is worse.
Agreed.
Try to
Totally
communicate
agreed.
at times.
Nice.
Terry's so lucky he doesn't have these problems.
There we go.
I've got my own set of problems.
This is true. You have different problems. We all have different issues.
Some of us have subscriptions.
Subscriptions?
Yeah, some people have issues. I have subscriptions.
Now, I want to show this off because this little model was used to create the Outbreak cover.
That's so freaking
So he
cool.
created an actual 3D model and then got everything done with all just lighting and some Photoshop magic, I assume. But now I have a permanent petri dish of M2. Thank you, Pondy.
That would be really cool to do something similar, like a 3D print and do like bookends.
Oh, wow.
Ooh,
That's actually
yeah.
a really good idea. Maybe that's what I'll do when I'm finally ready to collect the black into a single hardback collection.
I'm telling you, there's a Kickstarter thing. You can get commission 3D printing and
let's
that's
wait
for the
and
big thing.
see how pissed off people are when they finish Extinction, and then we'll figure out if there's going to be a hardback collection. I have to say, this is the hardest. I shouldn't use that word. This is the most difficult 7% of a novel I've ever had to write. It even makes destruction look easy. This has been the most pain in the ass getting this thing done because of how much attention I've tried to pay to making it accurate and then trying to figure out, okay, at what point are we jumping the shark? So I'm trying not to jump the shark, but I may jump the shark a little bit. We'll see. We'll have to see if the beta readers tell me to dial it back. Or they may say, there's not enough damage. And then, then I failed. So we'll see. I'm more really worried about this book. Obviously. So I never completed the series. Well, that's not true. Their book was complete. I never completed the series of different books. Never completed the Black series. Shut up! I know what I'm talking about.
You'll get there.
Yeah, the Black Collector's set with them 2 bookends. That'd be so much fun. I may have to have that printed at some point. Merch. We need merch.
Need merch.
Need the black in a can. So now we know what plans and how to schedule things and that we need dates, but we don't have to have them be rule and try and run our lives with everything that goes on. But we need to try and adhere to them as much as possible with that little tidbit of wisdom. What else we got?
One of the bits of advice that always comes up with the kind of the after action report, like how to plan and what you want to set goals for the upcoming year, is when you start to look at your year or quarters, the first thing that you put in is your free time. Now, you put in your vacation, you put in the time that you don't want to work and you hold it sacred. So for me, it's always, I know I've got vacations coming up, or I know that I've got work conferences coming up. And those, again, I use my planner partly because I need to have it in my hands, but also me and my lovely OCD, kind of like Leo and his constant grooming of Terry. Oh, your eyebrows are dirty, Dad. I must clean them.
He's getting my sideburn.
Oh,
and now the top of my head.
You're gonna have the bald spot right there where the cat has just licked everything off. So I actually sit down and I put quarters together. So each page is a quarter. And I sit down and take the time and I put dates in. But the stuff that I put in first thing is stuff that I have to be at. So like I put in the kids' spring break because I'd rather not work during that time unless I absolutely have to.
Bowling season.
That's season. The next thing. I've got rabbit season. But those things. I've already got the Author Nation conference in there. I've got Thanksgiving break in there already. I've got start dates for both high school and for colleges. So I know when stuff is, because I won't be around. I won't be in the house in the booth to record. So I know that when I start planning out books, I can go, I've got this week, and I can't promise you're going to have that book by this date. Let me shove it a week forward. So that way, when an author contacts me, and maybe another deadline is, well, I want to have a rapid release of the audiobooks. So I want to release the print 1, 2, 3. And then when print book 2 is coming out, I want the audiobook for book 1 to come out. How do I do that? I can say, oh, well, I can schedule this book for April and this book for May and this book for June. So, I know what's coming up and I know what to plan around, but leaving enough time.
Yeah, you listening writers?
In case. What?
I said, are you listening writers? This is what your audiobook folk go through.
Yeah, but making time that, like, I've learned if I have a week of travel, I should not plan to be in the booth for at least 3 days after I get home, because something could happen with my voice and I need to give it time to recover, which is what happened with
the
Vegas.
crud, or you've been talking too much, or both.
Yeah. And just like the difference in environment. But it's keeping that top of mind and making sure I can refer back to it. But knowing that there are certain cycles, I know not to plan anything big in September and October because I'm stuck in a bowling alley. But that's okay. Because it also won't last forever.
This is true. Speaking of merch, there's stuff for the Dead Robots Club. We do not have merch.
We do not.
We do not have
We
merch.
do not. I think the only thing that we have is if you catch me like in person at a
With the
con where I
ribbons.
actually have the ribbons, and you could get a DRS ribbon.
Well, I've been
Really
meaning to
out
commission a new logo, an updated logo. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But what kind of merch do you want?
Coffee cups. We totally need coffee cups.
Coffee cups, yeah. I think coffee cups are a no-brainer. Only question
So can
is
you
what
make
would-
coffee cups with a tentacle coming out of it or something?
If I did the graphics, well, actually, that would be a question for Pondy. That would be a question for Pondy because he's done that kind of shit.
No, what would be cool is if you had one of those color changing ones, and once you put the hot coffee in there, then like the top fades to like white or blue and you see the black just rising out of it. That would be the shit.
I like that. Little Dead Robot action figure. You are just a sicko. What is wrong with you?
Well, you could like the little
I want mugs and
vinyl, like the little vinyl pins that are in like a little dead robot shape.
Mugs and a t-shirt for those not skinny yet. Well, it's got to be the size where I can actually wear it. So there you go. Menu. What in the hell? Oh, did you really? Wow. I don't even know if we still have that store. What in the hell are you doing? Get treat, change scene to file, start menu.tsc. What are you doing? Are you copying into the wrong window, or are you trying to hack this
Yeah,
thing?
there was the
What are you
sorry
doing?
guys wrong with
Start menu pass. Okay. I'm sorry, confused.
You know, there should be a rule about programming while we're talking.
It'll be your comment saying some merchandise. Like, I personally love the AI revolution. Veronica.
Yeah, about that.
Them kind of words. That's going to get you kicked, you bad person. You post a picture on Facebook. Okay, cool. I don't even have one of those. Terry, do you have a DRS mug?
I do not. Well, I say that, but I don't believe I do. No.
Huh. A cat calendar.
Oh,
My God.
actually, quite right there. You know, Brett's idea of a cat calendar. Terry, if you didn't have like a cat calendar on like your top tier for your Patreon with, your grand selection of feline overlords, you are missing out on an opportunity right there.
That's true.
I mean, I only have
Now,
3, and I can only pose them so many ways before I'll, get eaten.
The real question is he going to pose with them nude? I mean, you could.
I think we can
Basically
avoid
have
that.
him nude, lying on his side, and he can have all the pussy just covering
Look,
his private
Paul,
parts.
you're gonna just have to keep your fantasies to yourself and request that later. I think that's
while-
a top tier.
While we don't do kink shaming on this show, we might make an exception for that.
Leo doesn't approve.
I'm sorry. I'm so bad. I'm so bad. That's just sorry, guys. The light is approaching, self-imposed, but still trying to hit it while real life is getting in the way. Dude, we understand. It's.
Oh yeah.
You're fine. You're fine. Maybe JR is awesome. Terry Mixon.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Let's see. How about Kelsey is the real hero of the story, J.R. Handley?
Oh.
Thank you, Michael. I'll check it out. Nice. Wow. So JR is going to have his own mug printed that says Team Jared on it. He's going to send you one. Is that what's going to
Actually, there's another opportunity. Terry, you could have 2 mugs. You have Team Kelsey and Team Jared. And
Team Kelsey.
You wouldn't have to choose sides. Just
Maybe have one side, one the other side. There we go. You're covered.
That works too. Which side would you be on, Terry?
Team Kelsey all the way.
I kind of figured. Graveyard jokes and coolie mugs. It'd be interesting. There's all sorts of things we got to do with my little mascot, my little parasite logo for Shadow Publications. There's a lot of different stuff I want to do with that, especially since he's kind of featured in an ancient trap. In a way. If you ever read the book, I'm not going to say why. But a mug that changes from one to the other when it gets hot. Cold. Yep. Bodies rise from the grave. I bet you somebody's made something like that, where the bodies come up from the grave. Somebody's got to make that, a mug like that. I don't even know where you get those kind of mugs made. I don't even know who does that. Tattoo flash art. I don't even know what the hell that is. I mean, I know what a tattoo is, but I don't know what flash art is. Is that the stuff that sticks around in your skin for like half a month or something?
I do not know.
I'm intrigued. I have to know. See, he's hip. He knows all the things. Between he and Antoine, I think they have it covered. It's a blueprint for a tattoo. Oh, that's what you mean. Okay. A tattoo stencil.
Oh.
Got it. I was so confused. Okay. That makes sense. I'll get one of those on my back.
How are you going to get one of those on your back with all that hair?
There's really not that much hair.
So you
can
say.
Shave hair. Yeah. You've seen me without a shirt. Was I all furry like Robin Williams?
It depends. In private, I might say no. In public, I'm going to say you look like a tribble.
Okay, that's what I figured. DRS tramp stamp. Oh, I love it. That is so bad. I love it.
And I'm frozen.
Yeah, but it was
you
a
were
great
frozen
position
for
to
a
be
second.
frozen in.
It was. The expression on your face totally matched what was going on.
Amazing how that happens when the conversation turns to excessive body hair and tramp stamps.
Well, if you have a comment or suggestion for merchandise that does not involve mad-dragon.com, you can find us at show@robotsociety.com. You can find me on Mastodon at Paul_E_Cooley at the yrc.social. You can find us on Facebook at the Writing Community, the Dev Robot Society Writing Community. There we go. My God.
You did it.
Why is it so hard for me to remember?
Good job.
You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com. Oh my God, youtube.com/DRS podcast, where we are live every Saturday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you want to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast and buymeacoffee.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive content like the live show After Dark, just coming up soon. I am very terrified to know what we're going to talk about. So with that, I think it's time for us to get out of here.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. All right, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us. It was a joy as always. Thank you, chat. And hope you had a great Thanksgiving for those of you in the States. For everybody else, hope you just have a fantastic weekend, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Whoa, he just bugged up before the stream ended. Look at that. Y'all scared Paul so much he left early.
Wow. He didn't even bother stopping the stream before